This is sportsbet.io. It's our Premier League preview for the weekend with Neil Mellor and Paul Robinson. I'm David Easson. Hello to you. We're going to start with, we picked out 3 games for this weekend and they're all on the Sunday. So I'm going to kick off with Aston Villa versus Manchester United. Aston Villa European heavyweights are 2.32. The draw is 3.7, 2.92 for Manchester United. Neil Mellor, I know you're watching Liverpool in Champions League action, but that Aston Villa result, beating Bayern Munich, is a massive boost to their season, isn't it? Will this be a bit kind of after the Lord Mayor's show?
I think so. Yeah, brilliant, wasn't it? Great to see Aston Villa in the Champions League. And they've been talking about this game for ages, Bayern Munich, and they go and get an unbelievable result. So fair play to Villa. It's a huge confidence boost for the whole football club. I think the game against Ipswich last weekend in the Premier League almost felt as though with Villa looking at that game against Bayern Munich and having seen results in the past, experiencing one myself in Europe, if you have a massive high like that, it's very hard to go again so soon after in the Premier League. People will say, well, it'll give them great confidence. It will, but it would have took a lot out of them emotionally and physically. It would have really drained them. So I think it's a big ask to go again and beat Manchester United. But what Man United will turn up at Villa Park? If it's the United we've seen this season, you're thinking, how can they get a win? So, I'd be swaying towards a draw for this one.
Man United have one of the great away records at Villa Park, Paul, but they're in a bit of a state, aren't they? And the way that they succumbed last week to Tottenham, who were very good on the day, but Manchester United were equally just as poor.
Well, that's the worst, joint worst Premier League start to a season that Ten Hag's had. I mean, 7 points, 3 defeats out of the 6 games that they've had. They've been really poor. I mean, that's where I am now. I'm here in Porto now. I was sat in an Eric Ten Hag's press conference last night in the stadium, and it's just the same thing that he says every week, the process, and I just don't see it. And he says, trust the process, trust this. And then he's saying about the leaders on the pitch that they haven't got, basically saying that you can only put so much work into them on the training ground, but actually it's the players, when they cross the white line, they need to take responsibility for themselves. There's something that's not right at Manchester United at the moment. They were prized open far too easily by Tottenham, the gaps that they had. And they're playing a Porto team tonight who are actually a very good team at home. They're going to have a really big ask to get results about Manchester United. And they've got the big game at Villa at the weekend. I just wonder how they come out of tonight's game going into the Villa game at the weekend.
Yes, I say we are recording this before that game in Porto, but still, Neil, you're looking at, well, it mentions there, Paul, that no leadership, and how can you have that if you've bought all these players and brought them all in? How can this Man United side have no leaders if you're selecting the players you put on the pitch and actually bring into the club?
I think that's on the manager, isn't it? You know, he's been there a couple of years now. You mentioned he's spent in excess of £600 million. This is very much his team. And if he's saying there's no leaders, then that's on him. And it's as simple as that. So, it's not been good enough from a Manchester United point of view. Comfortably beaten against Spurs. I didn't think the Bruno Fernandes red card was a red card. It has been rescinded, so he can play in this Premier League game. So that is a bonus, although he's not really been firing on all cylinders. What I would say is Villa have a terrible record at home to United, don't they? United have lost 1 in 29 years at Aston Villa. 1 in 29 years. That is an unbelievable record. Played each other a lot over that time. The last 0-0 was 2008, and this is where your question is, the only question I've got for you today, so let's make the most of it. 2008 was the last 0-0 between these sides. Who were the goalies? Let's stick with the goalies. Goalies Union will know this one. 2008.
Friedel.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
The Man United keeper in 2008.
Friedel and Van der Sar.
It's not Roy Carroll again, is it?
He's on fire. Goalie Union is on fire. Love it. Nailed them both. There you go. A nice, easy one for you.
So let's have a. Paul, what's your feeling about Aston Villa? They John Duran is just scoring. If they wanted to get rid of John Duran in the summer, you're probably looking about over 100 million now just for these goals he's whacking in from distance. I mean, the finish against Bayern on Wednesday night was absolutely fantastic. But have they got enough across the pitch this season to mount as serious a challenge as they did last season?
They're giving it a good go, aren't they? Already with John Duran come off the bench and scoring goals. I was there for the Everton game when he scored that other worldie what he hit from long distance. But yeah, I mean, for Villa fans, long may it continue. I think they've got enough to challenge. I don't think they're not going to challenge the top 3. but they're going to be knocking on the door for that Champions League place again, and it is going to be a difficult place to go. I just see a vulnerable Manchester United at the moment. I don't trust Manchester United at the moment. I really don't.
Okay, price-wise then, as I mentioned, you've got, I think it's a big price, 2.32 for Aston Villa to win it. The draw is 3.7, 2.92 for United. Paul, what's your score?
Yeah, I'm on Villa. 2-0 home win. I think Villa, like I say, I just wonder how Manchester United are going to come out this midweek game against Porto in Portugal. And I just think they're not in a good place at the moment. 2-0 Villa.
Okay, what are you thinking, Neil Mellor?
Yeah, Villa haven't had a clean sheet this season, and I don't think they'll get one this weekend against United. So I'm going to sit on the fence and say Villa won't lose, but I just don't think they'll beat United. So 1-1 for me.
1-1 draw. That draw price is 3.7. Moving on to at the same time on Sunday, it's Chelsea versus Nottingham Forest. Chelsea 1.49 to win this at home, 6.6 for Forest away, 4.5 the draw. Paul, Chelsea. Again, corners turned. This is a different Chelsea altogether now. This feels like a team, doesn't it?
Neil Mellor's Chelsea, isn't it? That's what we said at the start of the season. He's tipped them up, but they've quietened down the noises that were coming from inside the club about the amount of players, the manager, and all the rest of it. As soon as results start going right on the pitch, that noise disappears. When you look at the scoring goals and winning football matches. But listen, they're playing against the Forest side. Nuno Espirito Santo all of a sudden looks like a top manager, doesn't he? What he's done this season with Forest, they too look to have turned the corner. Hard to back against Chelsea at home. I think they'll be too strong for Forest on Sunday.
Saying that, Neil, the goals Chelsea conceded last week, I know they scored 4, but defensively they do look a bit of a problem, which he's got to sort out. But do Forest have enough to score in this game, do you think? I mean, they've got themselves some decent away performances this season, some decent performances total.
Yeah, Forest can nick a goal. I don't look at Forest and think they're going to get 2 or 3 there. Forest aren't going to be as brave as Brighton. Forest are going to be horrible like they were at Anfield and try and nick a goal on the counter. That'll be Forest. They'll make it really difficult. And I just think Chelsea, the way that they're playing at the moment, the confidence is up. They've obviously got a Europa Conference League game before this, so I don't know how many changes will be made for that. I expect a lot. But they've got one of the most informed players in the Premier League, Cole Palmer. What a player. He has 4 goals in the first half last weekend. Could have had a couple more. So I think with Palmer starting, you'd have to be backing more than 2 goals for Chelsea against that Forest side. They'll try and frustrate them as long as they can. I just don't think they'll be able to hold them out. So I've got a comfortable home victory for Chelsea this one. I'll tell you what Cole Palmer is. Now we're in a generation of people who follow players. And I think he's one of those. You've had your Messi, you've had your Ronaldo, you've got Salah, you've got players like that, Mbappe. I think Cole Palmer's coming in that bracket. I really do think that is in is a very much a player who neutrals like to watch. I had a friend who went to watch Chelsea last week just to watch Cole Palmer. He scores 4 goals in the game. This is the sort of interest he's creating. The fact that he didn't play for England and everyone was like, get him on. He comes on and he makes a difference. So he looks calm. He just looks like he's got so much time on the ball and he's just in control of his performances. He is great to watch. So, Palmer on fire at the moment will be too hot to handle for Forest. It's not just a Palmer show. I think Jackson's movement and the way he's been playing this season needs mentioned as well. I think Jackson's done all right. Missed a lot of chances last year. So again, he's playing better. And they're spoiled for choice, aren't they, for players to pick from? But yeah, I've got Palmer to score in a 3-1 home victory.
Okay, Brighton against Tottenham then. We're going to move on to the 4:30 game. Brighton with that incredible high line, Neil Mellor, against Chelsea last week. It paid off in a way in that they scored some goals, but they didn't half concede a few.
Can't wait to watch this. What a game to watch this weekend. If you're going to watch any, this is the one to watch. 2 teams who will give you a chance. It's as simple as that. The way that they defend, it's brave, it's risky, and they'll concede loads of goals doing it. And these sides have got enough quality to create chances. What I would say is when I look at these teams, I don't think they're clinical enough. So I think we'll see loads of chances, but maybe a few wasted. I mean, Spurs last week should have had 6 or 7 goals at Old Trafford. If Son was playing, and I don't know if he's fit for this game or not, it would have made a huge difference. Spurs do have a Europa League game. No Europe for Brighton this season, of course. So that might come into it. Maybe a little bit fresher for Brighton. I think it'd be a cracking game to watch. I just don't see either side keeping a clean sheet with that high line and the attacking players that we're going to see.
Yeah, two high lines on show here, Paul, and Tottenham will be. I think it's going to fall into place. Plan A seems to be working for Ange in the last few weeks, and Brendan Johnson certainly is.
Yeah, he looks sharp, doesn't he? He looks fit. He's playing really well. I think that's the player that they initially saw something in at Nottingham Forest. I think he's improved. I really do. I think he's been one of the most improved players in a Tottenham shirt. Hoping that Solanke goes along the same way, starts these goals that he's got now, getting a few more opportunities, and the goals will flow. But like Mel says there, they've got a tough away trip midweek to Ferencváros. So it'll be a long trip for them, see how they go. But the two teams that play with a high line, they don't change. As you say, it's plan A for Ange, or it's plan A with different personnel done a bit faster. And that's just the way that they play. They'll leave themselves wide open. There'll be two high lines. And this one is almost a banker for both teams to score this weekend.
Price-wise, if you're picking a winner, it's 2.22 for Tottenham. They are the favourites for this game. 2.9 for Brighton. Neil, the draw is 4. That's a standout price for me. What are you thinking on the result for this? We think it's going to be goals, but who's going to win, or is it a stalemate?
No, I think whoever's the most clinical, but I'd be swaying towards Brighton to be nicking it. Brighton beat Spurs comfortably, didn't they, last year? Spurs have lost a couple of games already this season, don't forget. Hasn't been a great start for Spurs. That was a good result last weekend against United, but I'm not convinced that they're consistent enough to be turning in decent performances. And with the fact they're in Europe, Brighton will be fresher. Brighton will be looking to respond as well. You know, a little bit hurt by that heavy defeat at Chelsea last weekend. So I'm on a Brighton narrow win. There hasn't been a draw in 13 games. There's not going to be a draw this time. It's Brighton to win for me, 2-1.
At 2.9. Are you back in your old side, Paul?
It's tough at Brighton. But like Mel says, his favourite phrase, due one. I'm going to go draw. I think there's a due a draw in this game. There's definitely goals, and I think there'll be a lot of goals. I think there'll be cards, there'll be incidents. I'm going to go 2 apiece. I'm never like backing against Tottenham. I'll never back them to lose, but I think it'll be a tough game on the South Coast.
The draw price is the big price. It's Brighton against Tottenham to complete the Sunday scores. Let's just go through those scores for Sunday because we've had a couple of breaks. So we're going Chelsea against Forest. Paul.
4-1 I went Chelsea.
Neil.
Yeah, 3-1. Comfortable home win.
Then you've got Villa against Man United, Paul.
2-0 Villa.
2-0 Villa. Neil.
1-1.
1-1. And we're finishing with that final game, Brighton against Tottenham. So you're going, was that 2-2, Mels?
2's apiece for me. No, 2 apiece for me. I think Mels just went Brighton, didn't you?
You went Brighton, didn't you?
Brighton 2-1. Yeah.
Brighton 2-1. They're your 3 games on Sunday. Our pick of the Premier League this weekend, all coming on Sunday afternoon.